Hello and welcome. My name is Carla Golden, and I will be presenting the Round Hill Estate, Dr. Paterno's Chateau of Greenwich, Connecticut. First, you might be wondering, who is Carla? Dr. Charles V. Paterno, who built Round Hill in 1939, is the third gentleman from the left in the black and white photos. He was one of 10 siblings of the Paterno family. His parents and their 4 eldest children emigrated to Manhattan from Castelmezzano in southern Italy in 1884. The younger 6 children were born in Manhattan. Dr. Paterno had one child, a son, my grandfather, Carlo, who had 3 daughters, one of which is my mother. Together, Dr. Paterno and his family, father, brothers, and brothers-in-law, built 164 buildings in Manhattan. Out of those 164, only 14 are demolished. 155 were apartment houses, 4 were family homes, 1 was a castle, 1 was a garage but is now a condo, 1 was a Times Square theater, 1 is a cultural center on a university campus, and 1 was a tiny steel house. Dr. Paterno was so successful at building apartment houses that he built a castle in 1907 as his primary residence on the Hudson River in Washington Heights, a section of Manhattan named after Fort Washington, just north of the George Washington Bridge. This was Dr. Paterno's home until 1938. In 1938, Dr. Paterno demolished his castle to build these 5 massive apartment towers, known collectively as Castle Village, which still stand today. Dr. Paterno wanted his only son to inherit an asset rather than a burden, which the cost of the castle and the necessary large staff had become. Hence his decision to replace his home with apartment houses and move out of the city. Additionally, Greenwich, Connecticut offered more favorable tax obligations compared to New York City and surrounding towns at that time. In late 1937, before he demolished his castle, Dr. Paterno purchased 22.3 acres atop a hill in Greenwich. Paterno Castle at Washington Heights was considered the highest point on the island of Manhattan, and Round Hill was considered the highest point between New York City and Boston. And coincidentally, both locations were used by George Washington's troops as lookout points during the American Revolutionary War. Dr. Paterno purchased Round Hill for $135,000 from Mr. Wilbur L. Cummings of 270 Park Avenue, which was a magnificent apartment house and hotel building built by Dr. Paterno in 1916, seen here on the right. Presumably, that is where the seller and buyer crossed paths. Here is a topographical rendering of the Round Hill estate. It is 551 feet above sea level and measures 22.392 acres. Round Hill, marked by the red pin, is 8 miles from Long Island Sound, which offers beaches, sailing, yacht clubs, and fishing. It is 38 miles to New York City. Reportedly, the Empire State Building is visible on a clear day from Round Hill. Here is a close-up Google Map image of Round Hill with the surrounding roads and estates. You can see that the house sits almost on the north-south axis with a slight lean toward the west. To cultivate a barren knoll into a forested hill, Dr. Paterno cut off the top 8 feet of Round Hill, dug 13-foot drainage ditches, and imported 2 feet of topsoil in order to plant 19,000 trees and shrubs, including hemlock, spruce, fir, sugar maple, white birch, and red maple. This news article tells that the new home on Round Hill will be 300 feet long and will cost $500,000 to build. I have not been able to confirm this as fact, but it makes sense to me that Dr. Paterno reused the 8 top feet of the Round Hill schist or rock to create the vast retaining wall that you will see around the estate. I cannot imagine him paying to cart off the stones and then trucking in new stones for the wall and house detail. The architect of Round Hill was Greville Ricard. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree from the Sheffield Scientific School at Yale in 1912. He then graduated from the Yale Architecture School and practiced architecture in his hometown of Denver, Colorado for 12 years. Ricard worked with several leading New York City architectural firms until establishing his own practice there in 1923 after serving in World War I as a camouflage specialist in the Army Corps of Engineers. He was the recipient of the Architectural Gold Medal Award of the Fifth Avenue Association in 1926 and received a medal award from the Greenwich Real Estate Board in the Architectural Merit Competition in 1932 for his design of the Brooks residence. In 1938, he designed Round Hill. Then, in World War II, he served as chief of the camouflage unit of the Office of Civilian Defense. He died in El Paso, Texas on May 3rd, 1956, at the age of 66. Here is the finished Round Hill estate as it appeared around 1948. This is the back side of the house, which faces west. It was built by my great-grandfather as Chateau Lafayette on Round Hill, a replacement castle, if you will, with a name reflective of its Norman French-inspired architectural style with Gothic and Tudor details. This was the 5th castle in Dr. Paterno's life. Dr. Paterno was born, number 1, in Castelmezzano, Italy, and was processed through, number 2, Castle Garden Immigration Depot. He built 3, Paterno Castle in 1907, demolished it in 1938 to build number 4, Castle Village, and then he built number 5, Chateau Lafayette, otherwise known as Chateau Paterno or just Round Hill. Those are his 5 castles. Why Dr. Paterno himself referred to his new French Normandy-inspired home as Chateau Lafayette, I can only guess. It is indeed the name that appeared on his letterhead, as you can see in the upper right corner. Dr. Paterno kept an office in town at 9 West Putnam Avenue, shown here, for conducting business. Dr. Paterno's original Washington Heights castle overlooked Riverside Drive, which was originally named Boulevard Lafayette, which was named after the Marquis de Lafayette, who was a French nobleman and military officer who volunteered to join the Continental Army led by General George Washington in the American Revolutionary War. Because both of his mansions sat on high military ground, perhaps as a carryover name from his first castle, Dr. Paterno called his new French-style home Chateau Lafayette. Other people referred to it as Chateau Paterno, and still others referred to it simply by its location as Round Hill. Let's take a quick tour of the home as it appeared in 1948. We will drill down into the details by the end of this presentation. On the northeast side of the estate, one enters through the retaining wall at the entrance gates. Greville Ricard designed every detail down to the finial on the iron entrance gates. Approaching the house through the gates, one arrives at the front of the house. The front door is nestled at the corner base of the tallest square tower. We will see more of that in a moment. Note the round tower on the right. That same round tower is now on the left, with the 5-car garage and work shed space on the right. On the south side of the square tower is the living room and open outdoor living room porch, which you can see on the left. Off the east side of the open outdoor living room porch are the formal gardens, shown here in the off-season. Note the round, cut stone garden house in the distance as part of the retaining wall. On the west side of the open outdoor living room porch is the kidney-shaped swimming pool. These black and white images have been taken from the 1948 sales brochure when my grandfather, Carlo Paterno, sold Round Hill after his father, Dr. Charles Paterno, died in 1946. We will take a glance at several rooms in the house and we'll revisit the images again when we take a full contemporary house tour. Here is the main entrance hall with a floating staircase, which was a true selling point of Round Hill. Here is the library as it appeared before the house was first sold. Here is the modest but elegant paneled dining room with fireplace. Here is the living room facing south with furniture and rug. And here is the living room facing north without furniture and showing the parquet wood floor. Through the arched doorway is the main entrance hall with the floating staircase. Notice on the right-hand wall the portrait of a woman. It is a portrait of Mrs. Charles V. Paterno, Minnie Walcott Midall Paterno, my great-grandmother. She died in 1943, 3 years before her husband died. The portrait still hangs in the home of family. In 1948, Carlo Paterno, son of Dr. Paterno, sold Round Hill. It changed hands about 4 times before it was purchased by Joseph Hirshhorn in 1961. He was born in Latvia in 1899, came to the USA in 1905 at the age of 6, the 12th of 13 children of a widowed mother, Amelia. By age 14, he was a Wall Street office boy earning $12 weekly, and by age 17, he became a stockbroker and earned $168,000. He then sold all his investments 2 months before the crash of 1929, realizing $4 million, and moved into a career in finance, oil, and the mining of gold and uranium. Joseph acquired art in abundance, which he installed on his Round Hill estate, which became his private museum and sculpture garden. In his mansion were paintings by William de Kooning, Raphael Sawyer, Jackson Pollock, Larry Rivers, and Thomas Eakins. The grounds displayed sculptures by Auguste Rodin, Pablo Picasso, Henri Matisse, Alberto Giacometti, Alexander Calder, and Henry Moore. In 1964, Joseph married Olga, who was raised in Greenwich, Connecticut. She retells in an interview seeing Round Hill as a child from the family car while driving along Riversville Road. Here is Joseph Hirshhorn standing on the back lawn of Round Hill, posing with a Giacometti dog sculpture. Here's a drawing made for Hirshhorn of his estate. You can see the kidney-shaped swimming pool on the southwest side of the house and the addition of a tennis court, which you can see below the pool. Here are 3 more photos of Round Hill under Hirshhorn's ownership. The larger image shows the front of the house with the front door at the base of the tower. You can see modern sculptures positioned on the front lawn. In the photo on the right is Hirshhorn embracing Henry Moore's reclining nude just before it was removed to Washington, D.C. And at the top left is Joseph Hirshhorn with sculptor Henry Moore at Round Hill. In 1966, Hirshhorn promised a large portion of his art collection, 6,000 pieces, and $2 million for the creation of the Joseph H. Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden, which was created by an act of Congress under the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. In 1974, the Hirshhorn Museum opened on the Mall in D.C. In 1977, Hirshhorn sold Round Hill for $800,000. Then he and Olga split their time between Washington, D.C. and Naples, Florida. In 1981, Hirshhorn died. 6,000 more pieces of his art collection and an additional $5 million endowment was donated to the museum. In 1986, Olga Hirshhorn, pictured here, donated her collection of Round Hill papers to the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. This is where I found all the historic architectural drawings by Greville Ricard showcased in this presentation, such as this first floor blueprint. The collection includes over 200 sheets of floor plans, sketches, and notes that Greville made, and he made a drawing for everything, including fireplaces, radiator grills, doors, cabinets, closets, windows, stair balusters, flagstone patios, specific brick layouts, hinges, gates, a sundial, a weather vane, and rock walls. Nothing was purchased as stock. Everything was custom designed, and all the carpentry was done on site. In 2010, Round Hill was purchased by Dee and Tommy Hilfiger, photographed here with the second and third floor blueprint, for $31.4 million after the property changed hands about 7 times after it was sold by Hirshhorn. Now, get ready. This is where we dig down deep into the layout of the home, room by room, and compare then to now. This is how the 13,300 square foot home on Round Hill looked when the Hilfigers put it on the market in 2021. Let's reacquaint ourselves with the layout. We are looking at the front of the house, which faces east. The original front door is nestled at the base of the tallest square tower, which houses the main entry and floating staircase. The living room and outdoor porch are to the left of the tallest tower, and you'll see the swimming pool behind it. In front of the tallest tower is the library. To the right is the dining room and kitchen, and beyond that is the original 5-car garage. You can see the original retaining wall and round gardener's shed through the green growth. The entrance gates are to the right off the round front driveway. The oldest trees were planted by Dr. Paterno, and the lush landscaping has been perfected over time. As a reminder, this is how Round Hill looked about 75 years ago. We're looking at the backside of the house, which faces west. The structure has largely stayed the same, while the greenery has enhanced the beauty. Here is a quick contemporary overhead view of Round Hill, showing the round driveway in front of the house, the tennis court and swimming pool off to the right, and new structures on the lower left. Here is what you would see as you approach the home. These indeed are the original iron gates designed by Greville Ricard, and the stone sentry boxes on either side. The Hilfigers underwent a 6-year restoration and renovation project under architect Andrei Chelyshev. Andrei won the 2015 Stanford White Award, which is a project-centric regional award program of the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art to recognize excellence in classical and traditional architecture, design, and craftsmanship in New York, New Jersey, and Fairfield County, Connecticut. That so much of the original estate has been retained and restored is a testament to the commitment of the Hilfigers and the skill of Chelyshev. Here are the gates and stone sentry boxes again as they appeared 75 years ago. In this slide, you can see the light wood original front door at the base of the tall square tower. We are also looking south toward the Long Island Sound, which you can see in the distance. Note the beautiful terracotta roof tiles. These are not original, but are replicas of the original. The original Ludovici clay tiles needed replacing, so molds were made of every single tile. Each tile was unique, so each one was recast individually in Turkey and then installed one by one. This process alone took 3 years to complete. Here we are facing the house from the driveway. The 2-story bay windows on the left belong to the library downstairs and Mrs. Paterno's room upstairs. The 2 deer sculptures flanking the original main entrance were added by the Hilfigers much in the same way that Hirshhorn placed his sculptures at the entrance. Here is a view of the formal front door. This is where you would approach if you had visited Dr. and Mrs. Paterno. The library is to the left and the dining room is to the right. Here is Greville Ricard's highly detailed design for the main entrance pavilion. Here is the backside of the house. The double-story bay window curves around the floating staircase in the main stair hall. To the left is the dining room, here with a newer pergola extending from the home. Further to the left is the original 5-car garage. Note the semicircular steps in the foreground leading to a gate in the retaining wall, which surrounds the entire estate. Here we are at that gate looking into the backyard. Note the height of the 2 main evergreen trees here. Here is how those 2 trees in the backyard appeared about 75 years ago. Note the back side of the 5-car garage on the left. Here we are looking at the front of that original 5-car garage. Today, the garage has been converted into a family room, and we will look inside shortly. From the former garage, now the family room, on the left, just past the first big tree, we have a view of the dining room with the pergola in front of us, and then the double stair tower, all on the back side of the house. Mounted on the exterior wall to the right of the family room and before the dining room, we have a sundial custom designed by Greville Ricard. I've not been able to find a close-up photo of the sundial just yet, but I imagine it looks very much as Ricard designed it, with the date of 1939 marking the completion of Round Hill. Here is a close-up of the attached pergola off the dining room. The pergola was not part of the original design. Now, are you ready to go inside? Now that we have our general bearings of the room layouts from the exterior, let's head inside. Here is the blueprint of the first floor. We're going to focus first on the main stair hall with the floating staircase where the yellow star is located. Here we've zoomed in on the blueprint. The yellow star is in the main entry hall with the 2-story floating staircase. Below the star, you have a hallway with a powder room to the left, vestibule and closet to the right, and the library at the far front of the house. The original main entrance door is on an angle into the vestibule. Off the powder room, you'll see a round lavatory. To the left of the stair hall, you'll see the living room, and further to the left, the living room porch. To the right of the stair hall, you'll see the dining room. Here we are in the main stair hall as it appeared during the Hilfigers' ownership of Round Hill. Note the blue bench on the left side wall. As we observe this room, note the painted ceiling in between the oak beams. You'll get several hints of this lavish detail. This is a video still frame from an excellent Sotheby's International Realty YouTube tour of the home. I left the name of the video title visible so that you can go look it up and watch it for yourself. I highly recommend it. Here you see the floating carved oak staircase going up to the second floor on the right. On the left, you get a peek into the hallway leading to the library. You see the 2 blue benches on the far wall. Through the opening, you're getting a glimpse of the living room. See again the painted ceiling. Here we are standing in the doorway of the living room, between the blue benches, looking toward the original limestone fireplace across the entry hall. The doorway on the far left leads into the dining room. On the right side wall, we have a glimpse of the vestibule with the original front door. I've enlarged that detail in the smaller photo. Here we have an excellent view of the original cut stone fireplace and floating oak staircase with carved oak window panels. Note the painted ceiling and the iron chandelier. Of course, Greville Ricard designed the fireplace in detail. And here is how this room looked 75 years ago. The fireplace and floating staircase are the same, as is the iron chandelier. The ceiling is not painted. That was a design choice added by the Hilfigers. Moving from the stair hall down the short hallway to the front of the house, we find the library. This is how it looked during the Hilfiger ownership. Note the fireplace on the left and the decorative ceiling. This is how the library looked 75 years ago. The fireplace is the same. All the built-in French walnut bookcases were original to the room, but the decorative ceiling was added by the Hilfigers. We have a peek into the hallway at the door opening on the left. Here is Ricard's detailed design for the library doorway, bookcases, and fireplace. Here is another view of the Hilfiger Library taken from the room's doorway, looking out the bay window on the front of the house. As a reminder, you can see the curved library windows here on the left on the front of the house. If we leave the library through the hallway on the left and enter the stair hall again, it will be through the doorway on the far wall that we will arrive in the formal living room. Here we are in the Hilfigers' living room. Note the fireplace on the far wall and the open doorway on the right of the fireplace. Note, too, the ceiling. This is a reminder of how the Paterno living room looked. The ceiling was smooth, the walls were covered with a heavy silk damask, and the floors were parquet wood covered with a large rug. The more ornate fireplace is on the far wall with French doors on either side leading to the covered outdoor living room porch. Here is the exterior of the original open porch with the chimney for the living room fireplace. And here is Ricard's drawing for the porch. Here is Greville Ricard's blueprint for the living room porch where the yellow star is located. And here is Andre Chelishchev's updated floor plan for the living room porch where the yellow star is located. The porch was enclosed and expanded during the Hirshhorn ownership to be used as an art vault. The Hilfigers converted the thick-walled, windowless vault into a near soundproof theater room. Here is the now covered outdoor living room porch that was enclosed and converted into a home theater room. You can see the doorway from the living room on the far wall. Here we see the wet bar, popcorn machine, and candy dispensers. And here is the plush, windowless media room for watching movies. The decor was inspired by Dee Hilfiger's Turkish heritage. Now, if we leave the theater room, pass through the living room, pass through the stair hall with the blue benches, which you can see one here on the right for orientation, we enter the dining room with oak paneled walls, molding, fireplace, and paneled ceiling. The fireplace here is back to back and shares a chimney with the limestone fireplace in the stair hall. The paneled walls, molding, and fireplace were original. The paneled ceiling was not. And here is Ricard's design drawing for the fireplace wall of the dining room with the two carved oak doors. So far of what we've seen, the room layout has pretty much stayed the same, with mostly just changes in decorative detail, except for the now enclosed and extended living room porch. The star is now placed in the dining room, and we will be moving to the right. Working from the yellow star in the dining room, which we've already seen, to the right is a butler's pantry, small kitchen, cold room or walk-in refrigerator, laundry room, servant's dining room, and a groceries or dry goods pantry. The Hilfigers opened all of this up to make a large kitchen and family dining room or breakfast room. The yellow star is in the dining room. To the right is the modified modern kitchen with a central island. Here is the original kitchen with the stove in the center with a solid wall behind it. The doorway on the left leads to the cold room, and the doorway on the right leads to the servants' dining room. The cabinet tops were all stainless steel. And here is the new kitchen with a central island. You can see the paneled dining room through the door on the left. Note the 4 counter stools on the far side of the island. This photo was taken on the opposite side of the kitchen and facing the breakfast room with the formal dining room at our backs. The open back stove has a view into the breakfast room, and doors on either side lead into that breakfast room. The stove is in the same location as the original stove. Here we are looking through the open stove and into the breakfast room that serves as the casual family dining room. The center doors on the far wall are closed. Here's another angle of the breakfast room, this time with those center doors on the back wall open. Note the stone surrounded doorway just outside the breakfast room. Here is a view looking back into the breakfast room after exiting through those center doors. This is the room that we are now going in after exiting the breakfast room. Before we explore it further, let's go back in time to the original design. This is Ricard's design for what was originally the open breezeway between the house and the 5-car garage. You can see the round service stair and the flagstone corridor from the front of the house to the back with the garage on the right. Here is the service stair tower on the front of the house, the round tower with the conical roof and weather vane up top. The breezeway would have been entered to the right of the tower before the garage roof starts. The weather vane was custom designed by Ricard. And here is the original breezeway exiting at the back of the house. The 5-car garage is on the left, the breezeway opening to the right, and the circular stair tower conical roof with the weather vane can be seen on the other side of the roof. One of the most impactful changes made by the Hilfigers was to enclose this breezeway and make it the new main entrance for the family into the house. Here we can see the new front door and the round stone service stair tower on the right. Here is the new main entrance to the house from the outside, looking through the new entry hall, the former breezeway, and out the back door to the backyard. Here is the entryway again with the main door on the right and the back door barely in view on the left. Straight ahead is the old 5-car garage converted into a family room. Note the pool table in the center of the family room. Also note the oak paneling over the family room doorway and the multi-antler shield over the bench to the right of the doorway. We'll see these again later. Before we go into the family room, let's explore a spectacular detail. Here in the red box is just outside the new back door. It's a round shape that was the exit to the old breezeway. This is how that space appears today. The stained glass panels on the left and right are original to Round Hill. Here is a close-up on the 2 stained glass panels and Ricard's drawings for each. The panel on the left is of Ricard himself, denoted by his name under the drafting stool, which I've enlarged on the left. The panel on the right is of a mason laying bricks, under which are the Roman numerals for 1939 AD, the year Round Hill was completed. Note the rendition of the house in the upper section of each panel. It has been stated in the past that the panel on the right is of Dr. Paterno himself. However, as a trained medical doctor turned apartment house developer, he was never himself a laborer. This summer, I visited my great-grandfather's resting place at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsville, New York. There, I was surprised to see a Masonic symbol on the altar in his private mausoleum. Nowhere in my research have I ever seen him referred to as a Mason, though I did confirm that he was initiated at the Grand Lodge of New York in 1920. Perhaps Ricard's depiction of the Mason was Dr. Paterno after all. Back to Round Hill. Now we descend from the new main entry room into the new family room, the former 5-car garage. The front section has a bar on the right and a sitting area on the left. Further into the family room is the pool table and a sitting area around the fireplace. The large glass door and windows we see here are on the front side of the house. And here is a matching set of doors and windows off the back of the house, leading to a covered terrace off the family room. Note more house structure beyond the family room. This is the original shed work area off the 5-car garage. We will visit it later as it is only accessible from the 2nd story. It'll make sense when we get there. Okay, let's go upstairs. Here we are back at the floating staircase with all the carved oak panels in the original entry hall, tucked into the double bay window on the back side of the house. This is how arriving at the top of the stairs looked 75 years ago. This is how the top landing looked during the Hilfiger ownership. Note the open doorway on the right with more of the little antlers hanging on the wall inside the doorway. And note the 2 yellow chairs with the dark wood table in between. To orient ourselves, here is the 2nd story floor blueprint. The photo of Dee and Tommy Hilfiger was taken at the dark wood table in between the 2 yellow chairs. The yellow star is at the stair landing. We are going to first zoom in and focus on the Mr. and Mrs. suites. Originally, Dr. Paterno and Mrs. Paterno had their own bedrooms, bathrooms, and dressing rooms, as you can see here. Note the round room that connected Dr. Paterno's dressing room with Mrs. Paterno's dressing room. It's called the tower room here. Here is how the master bedrooms appeared during the Hilfiger era. The layout is nearly identical, with the main difference being that Mrs. Paterno's bedroom became Mrs. Hilfiger's dressing room. Here is that little round pass-through room which we saw from the staircase landing with the collection of little antlers. It is by entering this room from the landing that one would access the master suites. You would walk south or to the right here over the living room to access Dr. Paterno's wing, and you would walk east or to the left here over the library to access Mrs. Paterno's wing. Exiting the round tower room to the south, one enters Mr. Hilfiger's dressing room. The door on the right is to the bathroom, and the door ahead is to the bedroom. Mr. and Mrs. Hilfiger, the modern couple that they are, shared a bedroom, unlike the Paternos. Here is the Hilfigers' bedroom with a fireplace, which is above the living room fireplace, sharing a chimney. The roofing that you can see out the window on the left belongs to the enclosed theater room downstairs. Here is another view of the Hilfigers' bedroom from the fireplace looking toward the bed. The doorway on the right goes back into his dressing room. Here is the bathtub in Tommy Hilfiger's bathroom. Here is how the bathtub alcove looked during the Paterno era. Here is another view of Mr. Hilfiger's bathroom with the bathtub out of frame on the left and the walk-in shower on the right. Here is another angle of Hilfiger's bathroom with the walk-in shower and the sink. The doorway on the right leads back into his dressing room. If we leave Mr. Hilfiger's dressing room, pass through the round tower room, and go east, we will enter this room, which is Mrs. Hilfiger's dressing room, which was originally Mrs. Paterno's dressing room. And what was originally Mrs. Paterno's bedroom is now an extension of Mrs. Hilfiger's dressing room. Here's another angle of the dressing room. The bay window is right above the bay window of the library on the front of the house. Outside this window, you can see the conical roof of the stone gardener's shed. And here is Mrs. Hilfiger's bathroom with her walk-in shower. A small closet between Mrs. Hilfiger's larger dressing room and her bathroom has been converted into a dedicated bathtub room. We're going to go back out to the stair landing where the yellow star is located and work our way to the right. Here we are zoomed in on the original bedrooms to the right of the stair landing. The first 3 were originally designed for guest rooms and 2 for servants. Unfortunately, I don't have any historical photos of these rooms. The first guest room has its own bathroom. The next 2 guest rooms share a bathroom. The domestic workers shared a bathroom further down the hall, which we will later see. Here is the same section of the second floor during the Hilfiger era. Instead of 3 guest rooms and 2 rooms for domestic workers, we see 3 larger bedrooms, each with their own bathroom, the last one with double sinks. The first bedroom we come to in the hallway is Mr. and Mrs. Hilfiger's son's room. It was nautical themed when he was young. It is a little bed for a little boy. And as he aged, the theme of his room went from nautical to aviation, with a bigger bed for a bigger boy. The door on the left in front of the stuffed toy giraffe leads to the son's attached bathroom, which you can see in the lower photo. The second bedroom in the hallway is Mr. Hilfiger's extended dressing room. Now, you didn't think that Tommy Hilfiger limited himself to just the small dressing room off his bedroom, did you? Not Tommy Hilfiger. Of course not. Here is a guest room converted into essentially a walk-in closet, much like Mrs. Hilfiger's conversion of Mrs. Paterno's bedroom into a walk-in closet. The Hilfigers each have older children from previous marriages. I'm guessing this is where some of them stay when they visit. This is the third hallway bedroom, and these 2 beds face a bookcase. Here is that bookcase. And surprise, the center section of the bookcase opens to a TV cabinet, the left door into the bathroom, and the right door into a closet. Here is a full view of the bathroom side with the double sinks. Here we are at the far end of the hallway with all the 3 bedrooms on the left side. You can see the banister from the floating staircase in the far distance. Here we were at the yellow star in the hallway looking back toward the stair landing, as seen in the last photo. This next bit is a little tricky. Remember the new main entry downstairs, made from the enclosed breezeway? Well, we're going to go above that now. It will involve the round tower staircase, marked here as servant's stair, and a bridge that passes over the breezeway into a series of rooms over the new family room downstairs. Here we go. Originally, this section of the second floor contained 2 more servants' rooms, 2 shared servants' bathrooms, and a chauffeur's apartment containing 2 bedrooms, bathroom, living room, and kitchen. Here is a view inside the 4-story round stair tower with the smaller photo showing the second floor landing. Coming out of the round stair tower on the second floor, or coming from the second floor bedroom hallway, one approaches this bridge. Note the new entry room downstairs and the oak paneling on the wall. Remember that multi-antler shield over the bench? We see it again here, but from above. Crossing the bridge leads into this whimsical room with a toy castle. Note the hallway on the back wall on the left, just past the child's easel. If you were to stand at the castle and face the doors and the bridge, this is what you would see. You would walk to the right to head down the long bedroom hallway, and you would walk to the left to access the round stair tower. The yellow star here is in the playroom. We have one more bedroom and then a spa at the end of this section. It is possible that this bedroom is Mr. Hilfiger's converted dressing room, which might be convenient next to the spa with the shower, instead of the bedroom in between the son's aviation-themed bedroom and the collegiate bedroom with the bookcase wall. Without more information, this is one detail I can't be certain of. And here is the spa room with a heated massage table. It is replete with sauna and shower. You might be wondering, why would someone stick a massage room at the end of the house past a playroom? Well, remember when we looked at the covered terrace off the back of the new family room and we saw more house structure past the family room? And I said we'd get there eventually, but it's only accessible inside from the second floor. Well, here we are. From the second floor spa room, there is a staircase that goes down to the first floor exercise room. The first floor exercise room can only be accessed inside the house from the second floor staircase. The former work shed off the old garage has been converted into a home gym. Those stairs you see on the far wall lead up into the massage room. What a great layout to head upstairs after a workout for a shower, sauna, and a massage. Here is Ricard's drawing for those stairs. And here is the original blueprint for this section of the house. On the right, we can see the mostly open work shed space with the stairs that we just saw. It is now enclosed as a home gym. The 5-car garage is now the family room. Above the family room is now the playroom, extra bedroom, and massage room. To the left of the garage is the breezeway entrance, which is now enclosed as the main family entryway, and to the left of that is the round stair tower. If we take the round tower stairs to the basement, we'd access the original boiler room, storage cellar, vault, and wine cellar. It is only by using this round tower staircase can one access all 4 levels of Round Hill: the basement, the first floor, the second floor, and the attic or the 3rd floor. Here is the Hilfiger era basement with the wine vault, laundry room, storage, and mechanical spaces. And here is a peek into the Hilfiger wine vault in the basement. Now, let's leave the basement via the round tower stairs, go past the 1st and 2nd floors, and take it to the very top to access a quaint secret apartment in the attic or the 3rd floor. This is a rendering by Greville Ricard of the front of the house. Between the 2 red arrows, you'll see that there is a 3rd floor with 4 dormer windows in the roof, 3 large and 1 small one. Here is the floor plan for that 3rd floor attic space. It was originally designed for storage and a valet's room. Note how narrow the space is from the tower stair side in the storage attic space. This is where the one small dormer window is located. Then we move into the valet's room with a doorway slightly offset toward the back side of the house. Lastly, through a doorway, we go into the storage attic. Let's see what the Hilfigers did with this charming attic space. Exiting the tower stair, one would enter a vestibule, sitting room, and a bedroom with a bathroom. Here's the first room, the very narrow room called the vestibule, which appears to be now a sitting room or living room. Next, the original valet's room, which was updated to a sitting room, has been converted into a small, adorable kitchen. And lastly, the original storage attic is now a bedroom with a small bathroom. With this finished space, the renovated home clocks in at 13,300 square feet. Now imagine that you have X-ray vision. Behind the headboard of the bed and through the wall, you would see the very last room of the house. But because we can't see or move through walls, we have to go down the round tower staircase to the second floor, walk down the hallway of bedrooms, and arrive at the floating staircase landing. And here we are. Note the oak door on the near right behind the banister. Where the yellow star is located is where the door was in the previous photo. These stairs start straight and then go into the round tower in the top third floor drawing, turn and come out in the third floor observation tower. This is the very top of the tallest square tower of the house. Note the attic space to the right of the observation tower. That is where that sweet little attic bedroom is, where we did not have X-ray vision. The Hilfiger floor plan on the right shows that this room has largely remained the same. This observation tower room was Dr. Paterno's billiard room, and it is from here, it has been said, that one could see the Empire State Building, the tallest building in Manhattan in 1939, on a clear day. Here is a photo of the round stairway up to the third floor observation room. Here is how that third floor billiard room looked during Dr. Paterno's ownership. Note the hand-painted hunting scene murals on the walls. And here is how that room looked during Tommy Hilfiger's ownership. The hand-painted murals have been beautifully preserved in what appears to be Hilfiger's office. This room is the crowning glory of Round Hill and the last room on this house tour. Here is the estate plan as drawn by the Hilfigers architect. What is most spectacular to me about Round Hill is that its modern footprint is largely the same as the 1939 Greville Ricard design. Misplaced modifications over the years made by intermittent owners have been restored to the original concept, and current upgrades have respected Dr. Paterno's vision for his Greenwich estate. Let's visit a few last details about the estate. Note the two red stars on the two structures on the right. We will visit there first. Then we'll go to the blue stars, which mark the pool and tennis court. And lastly, we'll visit the yellow stars marked on the library and the library gardens. Just in case you thought the Hilfigers, with their gorgeous new family room, just in case you thought they hated cars or didn't use them, one of these outline structures is actually their new 4-car garage. And if you were worried there wouldn't be space for you to spend the night at Round Hill when all the kids are home, have no fear. The Hilfigers built a totally separate guest house across from the new garage. It has a living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2 bay garage. Jumping over to the blue stars on the other side of the house, here is a great view of the tennis court installed during Hirshhorn's ownership and the upgraded swimming pool just off the back of the house at the enclosed theater room. Note the beautiful original retaining wall still in place. Now for the yellow stars. We are facing the back end of the theater room on the left. Straight ahead on the right is a side door into the library. To the right of this stone walkway garden is the water garden, and behind us is the grand view. Here is the water garden. And here is that grand view. I'd like to think that my great-grandfather, Dr. Charles V. Paterno, sat here on his beautiful estate, looking toward the Long Island Sound, contemplating the beautiful life that he lived and created. From Castelmezzano, Italy, through Castle Garden Emigrant Landing Depot, to Paterno Castle on the Hudson River, Chateau Paterno was his last and lasting castle. Thank you for joining me for this presentation. I hope you enjoyed visiting Round Hill through the years. My research website is paternoarchitecture.com, which you can access anytime to see more about the Paterno building legacy and to contact me. And on this YouTube channel, I have some other videos about Paterno architecture. Thank you so much.